Good evening. Welcome to Visual Radio Live. Today is January 17th, 2013. It's our third show of 2013. The views and opinions on Visual Radio are those of the host, Joe Villion. His guests, might be a bunch of them tonight there, but we do have the lovely Jean Martin here in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Her views as well as mine. Not necessarily those of Winchester Community Access Media, its board of directors, its staff, its members, all our affiliate stations, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, Boston Community Cablevision, Cambridge CCTV, Somerville, Billerica, Brookline. I mean, we're Hamilton Wenham, all over Munson Palmer, out in Springfield. We're all over the place. Welcome, Jean.
Well, thank you.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, too.
January 13th, you've been very busy since you last appeared on our show.
Yes.
You've been a presence so much at the school committee meetings, they think
true.
you're the honorary school committee member.
Yes, I am.
In Medford.
Medford.
We're on Winchester TV, but
Yeah.
Medford is watching us on wincam.org. So you can tune in on wincam.org, and I have a suspicion 2 mayoral candidates are watching us tonight.
Really? That's awesome.
So hello to Anthony D'Antonio, John Byers, welcome to the show. You guys can call in if you want later. But school committee, so you've maybe been at 6, 7, 8 of them now?
Yes. Well, about 6, yep. Because, they meet every other week. They don't meet every week.
So you're a citizen of Medford. Maybe you can answer a question for me. If the mayor's a chairman of the school committee and he's there every week, how come in 26 years, he's been at one city council meeting? One.
Because he doesn't want to be.
He's camera shy. 11 years ago, there was a methadone controversy.
He showed up for that.
And he had a script, I heard.
Probably.
He was scripted, he read the script, and he bolted.
Right. That sounds like, what he would do.
If I'm mayor for 1 year, can I ask you a favor? Can you shut the door? Thank you. Because I'm hearing people singing. And along with the voices in my head, that's difficult for me to think. Thank you very much. We have a studio audience tonight, which is always a lovely thing.
Well, one of the things that I would like to do, one of the reasons why I showed up at the school committee meetings is because our high school needs a lot of repairs. It's a 40-year-old building. And
40
years.
The high school?
It's like 1972, I think.
See, I think of it as modern because I'm so old. I remember the condos next to the Chevalier were the old high school.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it was 40.
Yeah, it's a 40-year-old building. Absolutely.
It doesn't look too bad, but I'm sure the infrastructure is worse than what it looks like.
Right. I mean, the wiring and everything, it's old. And it needs a total evaluation. And, of course, that costs money. But and I'm okay with spending money on that study. The mayor has paid out $700,000 for a study for a water taxi on the Mystic River.
And $800,000 for a garage, which is a combination of $1.5 million.
Yes.
And $15,000 for this. I'd like to throw that in for this little report. $15,000 more. Well, $3,900 for this, and then for an audit. So that's $1,500,015. $1,515,000. $1,515,000. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And with that evaluation, I would like to also see the VOC be reevaluated, retooled. I would like to see robotics in our VOC. We have an excellent VOC. We have an excellent economic engine called the Medford VOC, vocational school, where they teach kids how to be electricians and HVAC, heating and air conditioning, auto mechanic. A lot of my relatives have gone through the VOC and gotten jobs right out of high school. And
where is it?
Not everybody. The VOC, it's right up at the high school. It's associated to
It's just
part of the
smack dab
building.
in the middle of it, or part of it?
No, it's part of the building.
Okay.
Yeah, and not everybody can afford college. Not everybody wants to go to college. So I would like to see our VOC be, retooled and, incorporate the new things that are out there today, like robotics.
Now, one of my favorite tools is a public records request. Could we put a public records request in to find out, because I'd like to know how many students are at the VOC, how many are at the regular high school?
I'm sure that you can find out by talking to the superintendent of
They'll probably
schools.
just tell you. You wouldn't
Yeah,
have to be
they-
so formal as to put in a Freedom of Information Act.
Right, no, yeah, I'm sure you could ask the secretary of the superintendent to find out that.
Because here's an idea I have for you. Since we're in the neighboring town, and since Richard Howard, the town manager here, did a phenomenal job, they say, with the Malden school system, I think it might be nice to put a public records request into Richard Howard and one into Christensen in Malden, and ask how much the studies were for the voc here and the studies were for the voc there. So we have these comparisons.
Now, does Malden have a voc?
I don't know. I assumed all schools did because they had it in Arlington.
No, not all schools do.
Oh, I'm learning something here. We'll find out then. We'll find out if Malden has a voc and if Winchester has a voc.
Well, we're in the voc.
This is the voc?
Well, they have woodworking and they have.
She's smarter than me then.
I'm
I'm
assuming
just a
this.
guest.
I'm assuming this is the voc because this area of the school has
You
the
noticed in
similar
there.
things that our voc has.
Okay. And I think I went to Arlington High, so I'm pretty sure they have a voc. So we could put public records requests into Arlington. And in other cities that have a voc, I'd like to know what a study costs. So we go to Medford City Hall and say, you know, these studies you're doing, Your Honor, $800,000 is a lot for a garage, and I heard Beverly does $50,000 study. Even 50 is a lot of money to me. I don't know what the line item is for a study. 50 grand. I mean, 800 just sounds like what you pay for the product.
Yes, it does. I mean, but that's what the study cost for the garage. I mean, it's just insane. It's absolutely insane.
But there's never any kind of quantifying it for the public. So we're just told these numbers, 800 grand, and no one knows that 100,000 had to go to the lawyers,
Right.
50,000 to an accountant, that we know
Right.
nothing.
Right. Well, that's the job of the press. The press is supposed to find out that stuff for us. I mean, or, it would be nice if he put it online. But we don't have the budget online either. That's another, our municipal budget is not online.
Did you see a story was pulled off of the Boston Globe last week, a Medford story?
Really?
You didn't see this?
No.
An activist sent me an email saying this story is missing. So I wrote to Allison Goldsberry, a friend of ours at the show here, and said, your article's missing from the Boston Globe. I'd like to hope it's not censored by the mayor because it was all about the city council meeting.
Oh, the one with the ruckus?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was, Allison wrote an editorial on, because you could read the first quarter of the first paragraph was still on Google. It hadn't been wiped out yet. So you got the gist that she was writing about nationally, the divide politically between Republicans and Democrats, and the divide in Medford just between citizens and between the council itself. So Allison wrote, because Allison has a lot to say, but they basically gave her a job at the high school and she has to
Toe the line.
toe the line. So she wrote me a nice letter back and said that the borders weren't working and she'd have it up later. And I said, all due respect, Allison, I really like you, and you know I like you. You've written 500-600 articles. I find it very disturbing that this one article is the one with border issues when you never have border issues. I don't know. Don't you find that odd?
Of course. That's.
You brought up press.
Yeah, I brought up press because,
I did too.
yeah, exactly. I think, they have a new person at the patch, Jake, I believe his name is.
Jake's from Somerville.
Yeah, and he did a nice article on the week of the ruckus, the week of the first week of the city council meeting.
Yeah, he even mentioned me, which is a no-no in that city.
I know.
He did a good job.
He did. He said it exactly how it happened on the Medford patch. Poor Winchester people are listening to the Medford news. But
No, I think it's good that people get to hear this. So what's your take on, say, the school committee and then the council and how they both conducted themselves? I think the council...
Well, they're apples and oranges because every year the mayor hires himself or elects himself basically to be the chairman of the school committee, which he should not be, in my opinion. He can by law, I suppose, but he shouldn't be. There are 6 members of the committee. plus the superintendent that shows up every day, every week, every school committee meeting. And he is the president every single time. So he has, and also the school committee doesn't really get paid any money. They get like $1,000, $2,000. It's a very small stipend. So they're basically volunteers, and they're well-meaning, but they have no power. So the mayor has all control, and he has the vice president of the school committee is Mr. Falco, and he does whatever the mayor wants. It's as simple as that.
I like Mr. Falco as a person. Very friendly,
Yeah.
easy to get along with. So I wonder how the mayor can wield enormous control over people. And, city council is a good example because we're the proactive ones. Have you noticed?
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot. Gene wrote an amazing article on public access funding.
Mm-hmm. I did.
And it's in the patch, so you can just put Gene Martin patch, it'll come right up in Google.
The bottom line is that, as you know, 5%, well, I don't know if you guys know, but 5% of our bill, so if I have a cable bill for $100, whether it's Verizon or whether it's Comcast, I have a bill of now $105 because there is a fee, a $5 fee, a 5% fee that is added to my bill, and 3% of that, or $3 of that $5, goes straight into the general fund in Medford. The other $2, or 2%, is divided into two 1% slices of the pie. And 1% goes to TV3, and 0.5% goes to the high school, 0.5% goes to the government channel. And what's interesting is that I asked through a public records request how much money goes into the general, how much is collected, and it's 800. The total is 872,000 or 73,000, I want to say, every year. That $5 off of everybody's bill.
About 17,000 people.
Yeah.
Which is about $60 a month each if you're paying $100. A year, $60 a year.
$60 a year, yes. So everybody puts into that fund, and then the general fund, the general tax base, which can pay for anything from the highway department, the police department, the school department, anything, it comes up to over $500,000 in new taxes. It's a revenue maker for the city of Medford. Whether that's legal or not, I do not know, but that's what happens to 500,000, 500,000. So imagine how many jobs, how many teachers, how many policemen we fund just through this cable fee. And then
I can give you the exact figure for 2010 was 2010 and 2011 was 1.3 million.
1.3 million. So that's more than the number that I got in 2011.
No, it's less. It's like it's about 650,000.
Okay.
700,000 be 14. 1.4. It's 1.3. It was in the Boston.com or or Nick Iovino, but I cut and pasted it. And the key thing here is that in Winchester, you're paying a franchise fee. So on top of your cable bill, and Gene said it right, it's on top of the cable bill. If you look on the back of your Comcast, you'll see the franchising fee. And Comcast also takes money for certain, you have to ask Comcast, because I asked when I paid the bill. I went to the Malden place and I said, what's my franchise fee going for? They didn't know.
Oh, they did not know.
Now, do you know what a public file is? At Comcast, you can write a letter to the public file. So I'm urging people to write a letter to the public file and say, where does my franchising fee go? Now, a public file is if you walk into a radio station or Comcast, they have a filing cabinet and you ask for the public file, and they have to hand you all the letters they get from the public. It's illegal to put them in the circular file or the trash bin. Some radio stations long ago that are no longer in existence, it is alleged they went right into the circular file. So people would file a complaint. I would ask, and they said, oh, your letter went into another department. Because the program director did not want me writing a letter about him, because I was right. So I've been an activist a long time. But these public files are very powerful because you as a citizen can write to these public files, and then you can always file a public records request with your town. You could file a complaint or a letter of happiness, a cordial letter to your town, and then 30 days later write a public records request to make sure it's on file. And that's what I do sometimes. I send a letter and then I send a public records request to know they got my letter and it exists, and they can't throw it away after you do that. Because, so watching what you're doing and being the watchdog of what you're doing, because you just don't want that stuff to disappear.
Absolutely. So to finish that thought, $183,000 a year goes to our public access channel.
Which right now is off the air for till the 22nd.
It's really sad. They just show these reruns of what they just show.
We Are the World is playing.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I don't know what We Are the World is, but
We Are the World is the Michael Jackson song for the...
oh, that one. The one where everybody gets together?
Yeah, with...
all the movie stars and singers?
Yeah, and,
singers?
Kenny Rogers
Yep.
and all these great people.
Yep.
But it runs relentlessly on TV3 Medford. They have very little programming. The sewage has backed up into their station.
Oh, yes, I heard about that.
So the TV station sewage has backed up into under Congressman Markey's office. So I filed complaints with Congressman Markey and said, what's going on here? And at your congressman's office in the basement, there's sewage backing up whenever there's a storm. This is not what you want in the heart of Medford Square. Used to be a restaurant upstairs. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's... I don't like it. Because it's repeated. It's repeated. It's not just one incident. It just keeps happening and happening.
Right.
So the access station's off the air till the 22nd.
It doesn't matter whether it comes on or not anyway, because there's nothing on it.
Well, newsflash, I was told by a very good source that the mayor, when he did this report, had actually no intention of putting a new access station together for the community. His idea was to shut the whole thing down. And the mayor wanted to follow what California was doing, shutting access down, which would mean you wouldn't have this show. And whether you like this show or not, I'm here to tell you that if you live in Winchester, you can come down to WinCam and do what I do. So if you want to talk about the great job Richard Howard's doing, or if you're not happy with him, come down and talk about it. Now, I had the honor of videotaping a town meeting here.
Oh, really? Good.
We WinCam full shot, please. Thank you. We WinCam residents, and we want to thank Jeff Dearman, our director. Hey, Jeff. Do you like Jeff's ring?
I love Jeff's ring. It's great. It's a Bruins. It's a big, heavy Bruins, like almost a winner's ring.
And you'll be able to see him at the Bruins games. He's an usher.
Oh, somebody's calling.
I'm sure it's John Byers. But and I'll talk about.
Yeah, pick it up.
The town meeting in a second. Hello?
Joe,
Yeah.
Dean Petrella from the complaints.
Dean, how are you?
Good, my friend. How are you?
Good. Hold on a second. My guest is Gene Martin tonight. Say hi, Dean.
Hi.
Dean and Gene.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, Gene. How are you?
I'm doing good.
We're going to get back to our political speak in a second. We're going to talk to Dean of the complaints. Dean, I reviewed your record, what, 1999?
The first record, I believe, was 1999 you reviewed it, correct?
Do you know that 6 months ago I had your engineer, Phil Green, in here?
Really? How's Phil doing?
Well, he's an old dear friend, and we worked on the Buddy Guy project in 1986. So last night on Letterman, I saw Buddy Guy.
Wow.
Now, but it was like 25 years ago that I worked with Buddy. But it was great to see him. So how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. That's a riot that you talked to Phil. I mean, I was just starting out back then, and he taught me a lot about recording and studio stuff. So that was a great experience, and I kept in touch with Phil. He's a great guy.
Well, he did Beaver Brown, he did New Kids on the Block, and then I brought Buddy Guy in, and that blew him away because Buddy Guy, was just such a legend. But back then, they were all guitar heroes. Phil's a guitar player.
Absolutely.
Phil was on Warner Brothers Records with a band called Sparrow, back in the dawn of time, before my time.
Was it Sparrow or Swallow? I always got them confused.
Swallow. I got Bluesheimers. Don't mind me. I know these. I've reviewed the records. Swallow.
There you go. Excellent.
And the lead singer was the blind guy.
Right.
The blind guy. I know his name like the back of my hand. It's Bluesheimers.
And they were playing around the same time as kind of Jake Giles and Aerosmith and all that stuff, right?
They were, and they had these 2 albums out on the major label. And, Phil had a shop, and he became an engineer, and a very, very good one.
Yeah, he's terrific.
You know how I met him?
No.
I was managing the Rolling Stones producer, the late Jimmy Miller.
Wow.
We were at Bunratty's. For many years, I managed Jimmy. We're at Bunratty's, and Phil Green comes up to me, and he goes, Joe, bring Jimmy to my studio. You got a free day of recording. I said, free day of recording? I'm there. And we went down with Jimmy and Phil hit it off, and we did a lot of work together.
That's terrific.
You know that free recording time? You know how much money I spent on Normandy that year?
I can only imagine.
About 25, 30 grand.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had investors, and we had Motown Records. We were doing a deal for Motown. We had an investor. We did Buddy Guy, the JoJo Lane Project, the Manish Boys on Motown. So we gave that free day of recording brought him gold.
That's great.
And that's the way it works. But Dean and I, Phil and I were talking about you guys, and he loved doing the project.
That's great.
So that was your first record he did.
Yeah, that was. I did a solo record in '98, and then that was the first Complaints project in '99. The first album, Fear, that you reviewed. So that was with Phil. Yeah.
It's right next to my desk,
Good stuff.
And there's about 20,000 CDs in my living room. So, the Fear record is right there. I don't know why, but it's there.
That's it. Still a classic, huh?
That was 1999. So I never got your solo record. If you got extras, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I believe it or not, they're out of print, but it is on iTunes. But I could also download something for you and get you a copy for sure.
So my big question to you is, where are you touring? Because you have an amazing schedule.
Yeah, we're everywhere. We're taking off tomorrow for Vermont for a few days. The following weekend we're in Maine, and then the next weekend we're doing a little stint in down in New York City, Washington D.C., North Carolina. So yeah, we're keeping busy.
You're out of your mind. You realize that?
Yes, I am.
I couldn't do it, Dean. I'm impressed. I take my hat off to you. That's a lot of mileage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we I'm lucky because the band we've been together. You just said it, going on 14 years, 15 years. So we kind of grew up together, and the guys are real loyal, and they like to travel, and we're always writing new stuff. In fact, great. And we actually another brand new single just came out on iTunes. Called Southside Suicide, so I'm going to send you a copy of that next week too.
And you know who's been playing you is Doug Mascot at WMWM. He'd love you to come in and play live if you want, or just come up and do an interview.
Yeah, we'll have to line that up for sure.
In fact, our director has a show right here where you can play live in the studio, and Jeff Dearman is in the other room. He'd love to have you on his music closet.
Cool.
So. That's what we do here. We just have fun, Dean. I don't want to keep you on the phone too long. I just wanted you to call in and give us your schedule.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot, my friend.
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice. And, boy, just safe driving, because that's a lot of road work.
I will, my friend. I'll be sending you some new music, and I appreciate all your help.
Oh, one other thing. If you can videotape some of these shows, that'd be awesome.
Say that again?
If you can videotape your shows and upload some to YouTube, we'd love to watch them.
Yeah, there's a few. If you go to YouTube, there's some pretty decent ones. In fact, we just posted a new video. The new song we just recorded, we actually mixed it in Los Angeles with Chris Lord-Alge.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a great video of we're listening to the final mix, and it's the whole band and Chris kind of listening to it and rock out. So if you go to YouTube and you type in 3 separate words, Southside Suicide, which is the name of the new song, it's usually the first thing that comes up. You'll see us. It's pretty cool.
Oh, and who did Chris Lord-Alge work with?
Oh, my goodness. If you look it up, it's everything from from Paul McCartney to he just won a bunch of Grammys for the last 3 Green Day records. He's done everything. He's been around. He's been working. He's in LA now, but he's been working since the 80s in New York. I mean, he started off as a kid. It was fun because he took some pictures of us and he posted them on his little laptop. And I'm looking through his folder and like he's sitting there with Paul McCartney and with the Stones, with Peter Gabriel, with all the new bands, My Chemical Romance, All American Rejects, Green Day. So it was kind of fun to see us, in the photo log with all these guys. It was pretty cool.
Wow, Phil Green and Chris Lord-Alge, that's some good company you're in, man.
That's it, man. We're trying to keep good company.
All right, well, have a safe trip and enjoy your gigs, and we'll be in touch, man.
All right, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So my guest, Stephen Lee Bieber,
Yeah.
canceled out. He didn't cancel it, postponed till next week. So I sent out mad emails to Dean, to you, to Matt Turk, to all sorts of people. And, you were kind enough to come in, and I appreciate that. But isn't that neat? We just get
That's
phone calls.
awesome. That is just awesome.
These guys have been on the road for ages, and they'll go up to Maine and play 2 nights. They got wives. They're not like, 18-year-old guys, rock and roll. They're married dudes with day jobs, and they go out on the weekends and play New York, Washington, North Carolina, Maine, Vermont. It's crazy. I said, hey, Doug wants you on the air in Salem, which is a hike from here.
Yes.
In fact,
about 40 minutes.
Our executive director lives in Salem. And Doug Mascot has a show up at Salem State. I said, well, when you're coming home for Vermont, they said, we're so beat after a gig. They have to take a Sunday when they're not coming back from Vermont just to go to his show.
Right.
Because they don't want to come back exhausted and show up on radio and start playing in the morning.
Yeah.
Sunday morning show. But isn't this fun?
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's very casual.
You're going to get your own show? I think you have to do more TV in the coming months because you have a lot to say.
I do have a lot to say. I do agree with that. I absolutely 100% agree with that.
So you were talking about the franchise fee when we got our surprise phone calls. $183,000.
$183,000 goes to the Channel 3 or our public access TV station, and we don't know what happens to that money. The books are,
They're secretive.
They're secretive about what's going on, and there's no programming. I mean, if there was good programming, then we wouldn't be asking where's the money,
We wouldn't be as antsy.
But if there's no programming, then where's that $183,000 of the people's money every single year? And as things get tighter financially, it's going to become more and more of a problem.
Now, Verizon just signed a contract with the city February 3rd, a year ago, but the amendments were signed a couple of months ago, and I was screaming about that.
Yep.
So there might be another $95,000 that just goes into the money pit.
95, because I switched from Comcast to Verizon, so I still pay.
Yeah,
I haven't checked the bill yet. I gotta see.
They throw a
another fee.
No, they throw when they sign these contracts, like when Comcast did the new contract, on top of the franchise fee, TV3 got $825 extra grand.
Okay.
$825.
Oh, to start.
To infrastructure, because they lost their. Now they didn't need this crazy monopoly money to start. They had lost a studio. I was there. That's where I was producing. They lost a studio, so you have to wreck what you built. Gene, where's that equipment from the old studio?
I have no idea.
Where's the equipment from the TV3 van? You have no idea?
I have no idea.
I have an idea, but
You better not
since
say.
we're on TV, I'm not going to say what I know is probably the truth.
Well, yeah.
But the TV3 van itself, now the city co-owns. I don't know how Winchester works, but the city of Medford co-owns the equipment.
Yes, we do. It's in the contract.
TV3 van, when it was emptied, the city got this empty, no-good truck to throw in the DPW yard.
Is that what they did with it?
That's what I believe. That's what I heard, allegedly, because I don't know, but I heard. So this empty truck, that was the beginning of the end for me with TV3 because the president asked me to go find a new van. Gave me a very good percentage. Get the van, we're going to give you this much. Then he went to an employee behind my back and gave him a very low percentage. Then he went to someone on the board of directors and gave them a middle percentage. So I was very flattered that this individual thought that highly of me to give me the biggest percentage. Station manager called me and said, "Oh, don't go to this dealership in Watertown." I said, "And why not? I'm looking for a van." "Well, the employees going there." I said, "Now, I like everyone here. Do they all know that we're all working together?" And the station manager was really...
Deceitful.
No, the station manager was being upfront for once.
Oh, okay.
It was the president that did this. So, is this True Confessions, Oprah?
I guess. Oh, yeah, what's the name they were talking
Oprah, can I?
Armstrong.
I'm
You
going to
heard?
give you my true confession.
Yeah. I did steroids.
I'm a very nice guy, but I was a little upset. So what I did was a very nice way. I called up the other people and said, "Look, I'm backing out because I like you guys. So I'm going to be the bigger person and back out. I think it was wrong to send 3 people out, cross wires, and then we're going to wreak havoc with all these dealers. We don't need that bad blood." So I backed out. But then the vice president of the station, who was no longer with the station, walked in one night, and the president was in this studio room, but in Medford, and the vice president's in there, and I just thought I'd have a little fun. I said, "Hey, you know, man," I said his name, "too bad about the van, because I think I could have got us a nice van." "What are you talking about, Joe?" I said, "You don't know about the deal made with me?" Started fuming, because the board of directors is supposed to have a meeting and then assign it to one person, and clearly that didn't happen. Do you know I've never put that on my blog, that whole incident? So, Oprah, I'm glad I'm talking to you.
I'm glad you're talking to me, too.
So, okay, so I know these two, and they were both hotheads. So you know what I'm doing. I'm winding them up. But I'm being just so nice as pie. And then the president comes out, and the vice president is like, "You didn't tell me." "Well, you didn't need to know." And they started going at it, these 2 Italian guys just like blowing their stacks. It was violently loud. Vesuvius had went off, and I'm just sitting there smiling. They both turned and started screaming at me. And I said, "I didn't do anything. Bye. You 2 can fight amongst yourselves." And I walked out the door. I think that's why there's a little animosity, because I just put the mirror up and I was very polite. You know how you are sometimes you're always very polite. I was as polite as you. They were the ones screaming, but sure, Oprah, I did set it up. Just knowing their personalities. But they could have been very polite gentlemen, right? They could have said, "Hey, Joe, we're sorry. We're going to have a board meeting. We're going to do it the right way." But instead, they exploded. It just proved my point. So,
That's the way things are done. That's business as usual.
Yeah, but it's a nonprofit with a board of directors, and it's the public money.
It is the public money. That's my beef with it.
Now, in another city, there is a fellow who wanted to be manager of our station in Medford. Great guy. Really good guy. And I love all cultures, so I'm not singling out anyone for being Italian. I just said the Italian guys. And this person is someone I've known for a long time, African American. Went for the job. And everything's all white in Medford.
Everything is white.
And I'm
might
white, you're white.
might I say a couple of things? Our whole entire city council is white. Our whole entire city school committee is white. Every department head is white. There are 2 African Americans. There's of any stature. We have the veterans representative is African American. He's a Vietnam vet.
God bless him.
Yes, God bless him.
You're a vet.
I'm a vet, yes. But the other person who is African American is the special assistant to the mayor, and he's the special assistant. He is not in a position of power. He's in a position of influence, but how much influence is debatable. Outside of that, everyone is as white as I am, and yet let me just say, that's not the demographics. That is
No,
not
it's not the demographics.
We have a lot of Asians, we have a lot of African Americans, we have not so many Hispanics. We don't have the number of Hispanics that you would think of an urban area.
No, but we do have a rainbow coalition.
Yes.
And the term rainbow coalition, people, I'm going to specify, it was Jesse Jackson, all encompassing everyone, African Americans, Asians, gays, the whole spectrum of humanity. That's what rainbow coalition meant. But anyways, this great guy, very skilled, and something that's very key that I look for in someone to run a station is that he's a veteran of access. Okay. So this veteran of access applied for the job, and he made the mistake of saying, oh great, a TV3 van, we will have this for the members. Well, no, it's actually for the board alone. And he said, Joe, that's when I lost the job. He dared the power structure, he dared them that maybe the members should have use of the equipment that they co-own, but the station beat it into the ground. It was just the board of directors, and with God as my judge, I was a witness, I was there.
And another point is that all our boards and committees are, except for one, is all white. There's one board that has to do with arts and culture. That
On the
has
Human Rights Commission.
That has an African American on it. The housing board, although the state is going to change the housing structure.
Well,
did you hear the governor's speech the other night?
I've already blogged it, but the state isn't going to do it yet. The governor wants to.
Right.
It has to go through
Right,
Maldonado.
through channels. Yeah, it's going to go through the
Bartoleo.
channels. What they're going to do is they're restructuring the housing boards. There's like 351 communities in Massachusetts, something like that. There's 240 housing boards. So not every city has a housing board, but Medford does, I'm sure Malden does, all the urban areas. But when you get out more rural, they sort of have like one housing board for 3 or 4 cities or towns, actually towns. So, and he is going to turn it down to what? He said
6.
6 boards and committees. But currently, our housing board is all white. Now, that's not to say that they're not caring people. It's just that in housing units, I know for a fact that there are lots of African Americans and people of color that are in the housing structure, in the housing system. And they have no representation on the board whatsoever. I mean, it's just one thing after another. The school department's the same way.
Well, if you want to hear something really absurd, 2 wrongs don't make a right, do they? 2 wrongs don't make a white. and I'm going to explain my joke. In the Medford transcript, the president of TV3, when chastised for having all white men, there's no women on the board right now.
TV3?
Yeah.
Right.
African American friend of yours and mine.
Yeah.
She was chased away.
She was chased away, and she literally said that she felt that there was literally prejudice against her.
Oh, absolutely. And
as an African American.
Caucasian middle-aged woman who was chased away. So now there's all guys on the board. But the president of the station said to the Medford transcript, "Why doesn't the mayor appoint an African American woman to our board? The city council is all white. 2 wrongs don't make a right." So because you have a board that doesn't reflect the diversity of your community, you're blaming the city council, which is elected. At least they went for election and anyone could run. But you appointed one class of citizens, one gender of citizens. I mean, I'm a white male, but still I want reflection, I want diversity. Because crop rotation, term limits, these are the things I've been cheering about. Do you know what my TOTA means?
TOTA?
TOTA is my acronym for, and I started this in 2005. Transparency, oversight, term limits, and accountability.
Oh, I like that.
That's why they came at me with such a ferocity and a vengeance. Because I dared ask for transparency, oversight. Transparency is just putting it out there. But the end of it, I start with transparency, but the accountability part is, well, now you put it out there, but at the very end we want to know what you did with it. So tell us what you did, and then identify it line by line. So that's not a lot for people to ask when they're forking over millions and millions of dollars. So are you mad at me for asking for TOTA?
No, I'm pro TOTA.
So maybe for the coming election, when I talk to our wonderful mayor, maybe I'll change it to total. I'll have to find an L.
Yeah, total. Yeah.
Litigation.
Litigation.
TOTAOL. AOL. Accountability or litigation.
I think that's over the top, but yeah.
Well, the point is to have fun with it.
Yeah.
And to have these short little burst
But
soundbites.
I like the idea of accountability, and I like the idea
Term
of
limits.
Term limits, yeah. Especially at least on the city council, because we have the same president that we've had for the last couple of years. I think they need to rotate who's president of the council.
They do, and here's a really good parable. This is a truthful story. October 26, 2006, the Globe had that I was meeting with the mayor. So I met with the mayor and Richard Lee. Remember him?
Yes, I do.
He was the budget director before Stephanie. Okay, so Richard Lee's in the meeting, and myself and Mayor McGlynn. And I said, well, Your Honor, TOTA is what I'm pushing. And I want term limits. Oh, term limits. How can I ask them for term limits? I said, easy. They're a nonprofit. You're not. You're elected. I found, fine. There's a big difference, Mayor McGlynn, and I still believe it. You can get away with not having term limits to a degree, because at least you put your neck out there on the line. But we have no voting for this, so that was the first thing. And as I'm leaving, the mayor was very friendly with me. Joe, come back. I really missed the parades on TV3, and I said, I'll fight for you. We had a great meeting. I was tarred and feathered by the station and by, 3 of the city councilors.
Well, because once, and this is true of anybody, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Once you get in that seat, and once you get accustomed to a certain amount of power, you want to maintain that power. There's always a fear of losing that control and that power.
We saw it on the 8th.
Yes,
Elvis Presley's birthday. We saw it, and it was the flower of...
And this is a universal principle. This is not just about Medford. It could be Boston. It could be any town in Massachusetts.
The reason I brought the mayor's story up, full screen, please. 2 of us. Thank you. Because I feel like it's a news desk. I feel like we're...
Anchors.
It's great. We are.
Yeah, we're news
But
anchors.
Here's what I wanted to bring up was that Penta, at the last council meeting, now is lobbying for term limits for the council president and vice president, what you've just been discussing. Well, finally, an elected official who cringes at the thought of term limits is actually bringing it out the way Mayor McGlynn wouldn't.
Right, but that's term limits not for the elected official, but just for the presidency, for who's going to run the presidency. So they still get to be elected officials.
I like Bob Penter and the way he approaches things. I wish Bob and Brianna and Caraviello and Michael Marks were a little more proactive, because I feel that we're more proactive than they are. And I'll put my neck on the line and just say it.
Yeah, they have to answer to the whole city, so.
Right, but, I think that there should be term limits for all of them. And I think Bob Penta should run for mayor. And whatever the mayor throws at you, take the hit. Because you know what? It's a soundbite. And once it's over, and they're going to attack you on your law degree or not having a law degree, big deal.
They'll attack you for something, yeah.
Big deal. Once that,
Well, he has a long record, so.
Run on your record.
Yeah. It's not like he's new to the city.
Yeah, because we get a lot of facts we're going to throw at the mayor. So if they want to throw mud at you, we'll counteract it with facts.
I agree with that. Facts are always good.
And I love this whole... I want a salary committee, Gene.
A salary committee, yes. I think that's another thing. I think that we should have... I like your number of 15,000. I think that 10 is too short. But 15,000 to be a counselor.
Yeah, well, in Woburn, it's 9,000.
Yeah.
So they get paid $9,000. Oh, I took my mic off. Jeff, my vocals all right in there? I'll just put it here. But in Woburn, I think it's $9,000 and maybe $10,000 for the council president.
Yeah.
The mayor's getting $73K Scott Galvin.
Yeah, our mayor gets too much too.
I got a question for you, Gene.
But he also gets something for the school committee, which he should not be the chairman of the school committee. He gets an extra, I don't know, $12,000 a year to be the chairman of the school committee.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the mayor of Everett?
I do not know. Curtatone is Somerville, is that correct?
Possibly, I guess.
I see the bumper sticker for Curtatone, so I don't know.
And I know Richard Howard's here because I watched the Malden, and I wrote for the Malden paper, so I know Howard's here, and he's a good friend of Mayor McGlynn's. I bring it up because people don't know the mayors of, if Plymouth is a city. I don't even know if Plymouth is a city.
No, it's got to be a town. Plymouth
Yeah.
City? I don't
But, you know, even the selectmen in Plymouth and Situate and Stoneham, I don't know the selectmen in Stoneham, it's right up the street. So people outside of their own neighborhoods don't really know who the mayor is.
Well, let me ask you this. You could go up to people in Medford and say who was on the council, and they wouldn't know.
The city council.
Yeah. A lot of people don't pay attention to their local politics.
And that's a shame because it is the environment that they're living in.
Now, people would know Mayor McGlynn because he's been there for 26 years. I mean, you'd have to live under a rock not to know who the mayor of Medford is.
And he pushes the promotion button every day.
What do you mean the promotion?
Vis-a-vis
Oh,
Allison
yeah.
Goldsberry having her inside Medford, and he's got a tight rein on that, and on the Medford Transcript, and on the Medford Daily Mercury. And to a degree, he had Jarrett on the fence. Jarrett was like the kind of Rick Caraviello of the news writers. But he was leaning a little towards McGlynn, and now he's at the Globe, and I think the Globe is a funny animal because McGlynn has definite power there with the editorial board.
Absolutely, he does.
But I think some of the writers, Kathy McCabe and Andrea Estes, I think they're their own island. I think Estes and McCabe, they're their own people. They don't listen to the chatter. Because McCabe had one article on TV3, and the editorial was in direct conflict with its journalist. So the editorial opinion was so skewed, and the hard journalism from the reporter, Kathy McCabe, and it was also Travis Anderson. Anderson and McCabe did a great job on the judge's evaluation back in 2008 when the hearing was, and then 2009 when the report came out a year later. You find that odd?
Of course.
This was due December 5th. December 15th, 2009, this was due. Came out August of 2009, and I'm the reason why. We won't go into it, but they didn't want us to have this. They didn't want me to have this document.
Of course not.
So the mayor just kept kicking the can down the road.
Now, if the mayor were to close down TV3, would he then also give us our 5% franchise fee back?
No, he wants the money. He wants to
of
do what
course he wants the
California's
money.
doing.
So he wants the money, but he doesn't want the TV station.
But there's another elephant in the room, which I'll explain to you. You might not know about this. The cable providers, and I was at a hearing back in '95 at it was called the DTC or something, but now it's the Department of Telecommunications and Cable. Now it's the DTC. It was something else. I went there with Petrone. Petrone was the commissioner. And one of the lawyers just looked at Comcast, Media One, and the woman was like, "We don't want this franchise fee." And he goes, "It's like a half of 1%. It's like $100 million when you're like a multi-billion-dollar company. It's nothing." They see it as money they want to grab somehow. So the cable providers, Verizon, Comcast, RCM, all of them, there's a bunch more out there. They all want this franchise fee. Oh, if the consumer is going to pay that, why can't we have it? And it's kind of crazy.
Well, you know, if we don't have TV3, then I want my money back.
Now, we've got 11 minutes left, and here's what I'm going to talk about. I think that Robert Hilliard, a great writer, has a book out called Low Power Television. Bob's down in Florida now, but he was a guest on my show back at TV3 in 1998, 99. Low Power Television is this sleeping giant. Let me give you an example. Let's say that Verizon gets its way at Beacon Hill. Every year, Verizon goes to Beacon Hill to try to shut down What We Do Access. And they lose. Even Comcast fights them because Comcast right now has all those contracts, so it doesn't want Verizon to get its way right now. Okay. But at a certain point when those contracts run out, Verizon and Comcast, this is my opinion, my theory of what they're doing, they're all going to want to shut down access. Now, the access stations that can bundle, when Cam joins up with Stoneham and Woburn, and we have like 5 communities,
Okay.
okay? We bundle. And then we become LPTV, low power television. Now, we get on either as a nonprofit that's privately funded, or publicly funded, but a nonprofit, or we become a commercial station, low power commercial station.
Then you wouldn't have freedom of speech, though. Because,
Sure you would.
well, I think that if you had the commercials, a lot of times the commercials will tell you what you can and cannot say on TV.
I hear what you're saying. Jeff, would you mind getting the door? Because I'm hearing an echo. I feel like Oz, the great and powerful. Commercials can't dictate it, but as long as you do, thanks, Jeff. He's great. He's just an absolutely great director. Jeff Dearman. He's a dear friend. He's the dear man. Commercials, if you do what PBS does, PBS gets away with being themselves and not letting the government funding change it, not letting the Republicans rattle them.
I wish that community TV could be like PBS. It should be like PBS.
Well, we could, I mean, talking to someone who's been doing it a long time, I might know nothing, but I've been in it a long time, so I know a little bit. I think we the people can.
Because they have sponsors. I mean, they take money from corporations, right? PBS.
It's really
And yet
gray area advertising the way they're doing it.
Yeah, and
They've changed. They're not doing it the way they did in the 60s.
Okay.
Brought to you by a sponsorship from the oil company, you know?
Yeah.
It was that quick. Now it's almost a 60-second, 2-minute soundbite. In between shows, it's not offensive, but it's advertising.
It's advertising.
In a subtle way.
And it helps pay for the TV programming.
But even in the dawn of television, when they had those old products that they were selling,
Yes.
you know, the quiz show was sponsored by a pharmaceutical.
Right.
So
Or Texaco or some oil company, right?
So we can institute these changes, Gene, and I'm looking at any angle we can take to enhance access, to make it more accessible to all the people. Because if you don't like what I'm saying, what Gene's saying, come on up and refute us. It's your forum. We don't stand in your way. But people don't. You know what a hot set is?
Well, you know, it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there.
A hot set is a host-operated set.
Okay.
So this station doesn't have a hot set, but you can go into some stations and press a button and you're on the air.
Oh, really?
And, you know, it's a good way to do access because it's no muss, no fuss. Then there's still what you said, putting yourself out there. Have we covered what you wanted to cover? Public safety.
Well, the one thing that we have 8 minutes left, so I just one of the issues that I'd like to find out about Winchester is how they do their security in their high school. I know that comparing Winchester to Medford isn't equal because you're more suburban and we're more urban, but we don't have that many security. We have one full-time police officer at the high school, and he's armed. But outside of that, we have some security guards, but it's not sufficient enough. And I was wondering, I wanted to ask the police chief if we did have security that was not armed up at the high school, would they be under the auspices of the Medford Police Department? Or would they be a private security company that would come in and do the security? I wonder how that would work, because we definitely have to have more security up at the high school and throughout all of our grade schools as well now. But I don't want to turn our high school into a fortress. I don't want to turn our schools into fortresses. But we definitely need to do something towards more security.
And I would think Medford businesses would pay for the security guards maybe over and above, so that you're not taking it from public monies. I don't know. Sponsor the security at the high school.
Our business community is being hit hard. We have a very small business community in Medford. We really do. And they're hit harder for taxes. They pay twice as much as we do as a resident. Our tax rate is something like $13 for every 1,000. They pay like $24 per 1,000.
Per month?
Per 1,000 for the property value.
Wow.
So,
We've only got 30 seconds left. Sorry, I missed.
oh my God, okay.
Hey, it's great having you here.
Yeah. Oh,
You're
thank
always
you.
welcome.
Thank you so much. And I hope to talk more about public safety in our schools.
Come in with a script, and I won't take as much time on the floor because I like to ramble.
Oh, that's fine.
It's a very folksy show.
Yeah.
Views and opinions here.
Yeah,
are
that
those
makes it fun.
Gene Martin and Joe Vig. And thanks, Jeff Dearman. Thanks, Judy Kellerman. Thanks, Sean O'Brien, David Gauthier. And next week, Stephen Lee Bieber returns. He's a great guy, author of Heebie-Jeebies and CBGBs, a Jewish punk rocker in New York. It's going to be a lot of fun.